back to biology class. Welcome to biology class. So the last class we had, we talked about excretion, right? We did excretion as the removal of waste substances from the body. Removal of waste substances from the body, right? The biological process by which living organisms remove waste products during metabolism. And we looked into the excretory organs different organisms. Okay, we looked at excretory mechanisms in the kidneys, the lungs, and the skin. We also looked into the excretory products. We also look into excretory products. We looked into the process where by the kidney, lungs, the skin release their waste. Okay, so we looked into the mechanisms, we looked into the processes. All right. So we also looked into the economic importance of the excretory products of plants. All right. So, and we treated past questions together in which you also attempted the questions by yourself. Okay, so today we are going to into the topic support and movement. Support and movement. So when you hear the word support and movement, what comes to your mind? All right, when you hear the word support, that is something helping the other to maintain stability. Okay, that is what we call support. Okay, when something is helping the other thing to maintain stability. All right, that is the meaning of support. So talking about support in biology, support moves, it provides stability, shape, and protection to organisms. Stability, shape, and protection to organisms. Okay, so it is necessary for maintaining shape, maintaining protection of the internal organs, facilitates movement, and some other things in the body. So support system is very, very important. Like we human being, the support system of our movement of our body majorly is the skeleton in your body. So it is the skeleton that is upholding your flesh. It is the skeleton that is holding everything in you. It is the skeleton in you that makes you to stand uprightly, that makes you to work, that makes you to move, that makes you to be strong. All right, so the flesh is just covering the skeleton, the bones in your body. So the major support that is making you strong, that is making you being able to move from one place to another, the support in your system is the skeleton, the bones, the bone structure in your body. All right, so talking about the movement itself, you know, it's also essential for survival, and it includes locomotion, that is moving from one place to another. It's also it includes internal movement. All right, internal movement like the blood circulation, the systems in your body, those fluids, they move from one place to another. So there's internal movement as well as your body movement. Okay, so we want to look into this what we call support and movement all together. So this is to tell you that support and movements, they go hand in hand. So if you don't have support system in your body, you will not be able to move from one place to another. All right. So and if you don't move, if you are not able to move from one place to another, then the support system in your body will get weak because it is not, it is not moving. All right, so it is not useful, it is not active. Okay, so which means that the support and movement goes hand in hand. All right, so kindly note that we have both, this occurs in both plants, it occurs in both plants and animals. Okay, so it occurs in both plants and animals. So we are going to be looking into the plant today. We are going to focus on the plant aspect today. So support and movement in plants. Support and movement in plants. So this is what we want to focus on today. And I want you to pay total attention to whatever is being said in this class. All right. So we are starting with the movement in plants. I have explained what the support means. Okay. I've explained what the movement means. And we are going to be looking into the support systems in plants and also different movements in plants. All right. So movement in plants. Movement in plants. Movement in plants. There are different movements in plants. All right. I don't think I need to tell you that plants cannot move from one place to another. Or have you ever seen a plant coming to your house to greet you? No. All right. So plants cannot move from one place to another. But then there are different types of movement in plants. All right. Plants also move, just that the movement is not definite. Okay. So the movement is indefinite. So plants do not move from one place to another, but then plants move because they have different parts of you know, there are different parts, there are different processes, there are different chemical reactions that occurs in plants. So plants also move, and this is what we want to look into. What are the different movements in plants? How do they move? All right. So number one movement in plants is what we call the tropic movement. Tropic movement. This is number one movement in plants, and it is, it is a directional growth response. Directional growth response. All right, so I am going to show you a chart of a tropic movement in plants. All right, a tropic movement in plants, so that you can have idea of what I am referring to. All right, so take a look at this chart. So this is a diagram, this is a chart, and I'm going to be explaining what this means. All right, so I said number one is tropic movement. So what is tropic movement? Tropic movement is a directional, it's a directional, it's a directional growth response. A directional growth response. That is, tropic movement, it works hand in hand with the word growth. Okay, so talking about tropic movement, when tropic movement occurs, it also leads to growth in plants. That is why we call it directional growth response. All right, so it is a slow, permanent movement where plants grow toward or away from a stimulus. Okay, so the plants grow away or towards a stimulus. What is stimulus? Stimulus is a change that triggers response. A change that triggers response. Okay, so I think I have once explained the word stimulus in this UTME class. That is something that triggers response. It's if someone pinches you, like you feel the pain, you respond. It's either you give a sound or you react, or you must do something. All right, or if someone calls you, let's say, a very chilled water, a very cold water, there is no way you will not respond. You will definitely respond. So the cold water is the stimulus because it is the one that is causing it is the one that is making you to respond. So it is the one that is causing you, that is bringing out response from you. So that is stimulus. All right. So tropic movement is a slow permanent movement where plants grow toward or away from a stimulus. Now take a look at this plant. Take a look at this plant. Okay, take a look at this plant. This is a plant growing from a funnel. All right, and if you look at this plant very well, normally this plant should grow straight upward. It should grow upwardly straight, like the normal way a plant should grow, just like this other one is growing upwardly straight. Okay, so this plant is also supposed to grow upwardly straight, like go straight upward. Okay, but because there is something here that the plant is responding to, which is light, you can see that something is covering the plant here. And according to the class we had in photosynthesis, I explained that photosynthesis occurs in the presence of light, that is the light reaction. So which means that if there is no appropriate sunlight, plants may not grow well. All right, so it's if there is the plant needs sunlight, the plant needs light in order to experience photosynthesis. Okay, so if you look at this plant very well, you see that the direction is not going straight as it ought to go straight. Why? Because there is something covering the up here, so the light is not coming from up, and then the plant wants to survive. The plant needs to photosynthesize. Hence, it grows toward a stimulus here, which is light. All right. So as you can see, the light here, the plant is growing towards where the light is, and this is what we refer to as a tropic movement. Why? Because the plant is moving towards a stimulus, is responding to stimulus. So, and mind you, the growth, the movement is permanent. Or have you ever seen a plant that grows very tall and probably before you wake up in the morning, the plant has reduced in height? Have you ever seen that? No. So this is to tell you that a tropic movement involves a permanent change. All right, so it is a permanent movement. Once the plant grows towards that area or it moves away from that area, it will be like that. It is permanent, not temporary. It cannot change. All right, so I believe you understand. If you understand my explanation, please thumbs up. Please thumbs up if you understand and you are enjoying the class. All right. Okay, so talking about the tropic movement is what I just explained, that the plant grows towards the light. All right. So if you're watching us from YouTube, please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. All right. So the second movement in plants is what we call the nastic movement. Nastic movement. Nastic movement. The first one is tropic movement. The second one is nastic movement. So the nastic movement is the opposite of tropic movement. What do I mean by opposite? It is a non-directional response, non-directional response to stimuli. Okay, so unlike the tropic movement that is directional, that is wherever the stimulus is, that is where the plants move towards. So it is directional. All right. So on the other hand, nastic movement is a non-directional response. It's a non-directional movement. All right, so it's a non-directional movement, and the movement is temporary. The movement is temporary. Okay, so it is reversible. It is temporary, unlike the tropic movement where the movement is permanent. Okay, so for nastic movements, this is an example. This is an example of a nastic movement, this plant. All right. So for those that are familiar with this particular plant, we call it mimosa. We call it mimosa pudica. Okay. So if you touch that leaf, it closes. As you can see, this person touching it, you see the leaves are closing. All right, so this particular one that is open there, if you touch it, it will close. That is a nastic movement. So the leaves are moving because of a particular stimulus. However, it is not permanent. So if the touching stops and after a while the leaves open again, that is why the movement is not permanent. It is temporary and reversible. Okay, so under the nastic movement, there is something, it has types. That is, there are different um types of nastic movements. There are different types of nastic movements, and number one is what we call nictinasty. Okay, number one is nasty. All right, so nasty is, a sleep movement of leaves, just as in this particular example. All right, just like this particular example, the mimosa leaf, leaves fold up on touching with fingers. All right, so if you touch the leaves with fingers, it closes, it folds. All right, so that kind of movement is what we call nictinasty. So we call it a sleep movement of leaves in response to light and darkness. In response to light and darkness. All right, there are some flowers that open during the day. Okay, there are some flowers that open during the day. Even the hibiscus flowers, there are some other flowers that during the day, it's very bright, it opens, you like the way it looks, but then go there at night and see how it looks. So this is another movement in plants. So during the day they open up, and at night they do what? They close. The flowers close, the leaves close, and some other leaves like that that close during the night. All right. So when the day breaks, they open up again. That is movement in plant. That is another type of movement. Okay. So it is also a nastic movement, but the major name is what we call it nictinasty. Nictinasty is a sleep movement in plants. All right. So the second type is what we call thigmonasty. Thigmonasty. So what do we know? What do we call thigmonasty? What is the meaning of thigmonasty? Response to touch. So this particular one that I used to explain the nastic movement is the same one I am going to use. So for the nictinasty, an example is the other some flowers that open during the day and close during the night. That is an example of the nictinasty movement. So for this thigmonasty, an example is this particular leaf, which is Mimosa pudica. All right, so it's response to touch. So if you touch it, if you touch the leaf, it folds. All right, it folds if you touch it. So and after a while it opens up. All right, so that is an example under thigmonasty. So and the third type is what we call thermonasty. Thermonasty. All right. So what do we know by thermonasty? from the word thermo, temperature, from the word thermo. So this is a movement that responds to temperature. So it's a response to response to temperature, and there's some flowers that open in warm temperatures and close in cold temperatures. That is, let's say after rainfall, you know, there's some flowers that close. They are not that bright, they are not that open, unlike when there is hot sun, when there is hot temperature. All right, so that is what we call the thermonasty. However, all these three types of movement under the nastic movement, they are temporary movements. They are not permanent, unlike the tropic movement that is permanent. All right, so I hope you got that. Okay, so talking about the tropic movement, okay, I have explained the nastic movement. So under this tropic movement, we also have types. Okay, we also have types, and the number one type is what we call phototropism. Phototropism, all right, under the tropic movement, phototropism. So from the word photo, it means light. Just from this example, from this diagram that is here, we can also use this as an example. All right, so we have phototropism. Okay, so and you know growth movement in response to light. So as you can see, the plant is growing towards the light here, and it could be a positive movement. It could be a positive phototropism or negative phototropism. So under this tropic movement, we have for each of the type. Don't forget this is types. So number one type is phototropism. So each of those the types they can either be a positive or negative. And how do we regard them as positive? If it is going towards the stimulus like this, it is positive. But if it is going away from the light or from the stimulus, it is negative. I'm going to come again. Now, for the types of tropic movements, number one is phototropism. All right. So I'm going to give you four different types on that tropic movement. And for the four types, there is something we call positive and negative for each of the type. So when it is called positive, it is when the plant is growing towards that stimulus or stimulus. That is what we call it positive. But when we call it negative, then the plant is moving away from the stimulus. So if this plant is moving in this direction instead of moving here, then it means it is moving away from the stimulus, and that is when we call it negative movement or negative whatever the type is. All right, so we can have positive phototropism, we can have negative phototropism. So in this case, the plant is growing towards the light. It is called positive phototropism. So it occurs in the presence of light. That is phototropism. And number two is hydrotropism. From the word hydro means water. So when you see a word, you can easily break it down for you to get what it means. Okay, so from the word hydro means water. So this should tell you that this particular movement occurs in the presence of water. So it responds to water, growth movement in response to water. All right, so if the plant is growing towards water, it means it is a positive hydrotropism. If the plant is growing away from the water, which is very rare, it is called negative hydrotropism. All right, I hope you got that. And the number 3 type is geotropism. Geotropism. So the geotropism is, growth movements in response to gravity. Growth movement in response to gravity. All right, so we can also have positive or negative. When it is positive, it means the plant is growing towards the gravity. All right, e.g., when the root is growing downward. All right, that is a positive geotropism. So when it is growing away from gravity, it is called negative geotropism. And the number 4 is what we call thigmotropism. Thigmotropism. All right, so this is growth or movement in response to touch or mechanical stimuli, just like the thigmonastic. So response to touch. All right, so this is you know this is the 4th type of tropic movement. Okay, so if you are with me, please thumbs up. If you are with me and you understand, please thumbs up. Okay, so we move to the next aspect. We move to the next aspect, which is tactic movement. So I have given you two major types of movements now. Number 1, we talked about the tropic movement. Number 2, we talked about the nastic movement. Number 3, we want to talk about the tactic movement. Tactic movement. All right. So we want to talk about the tactic movement. And what is tactic movement? What do we mean by tactic movement? These movements are directional movements of free moving plant cells. Don't forget that if you are not careful, you may mistakenly take you may mistake tactic for tropic because both of them are directional. However, the tactic movement involves the movement of the body cells, the movement of the plant cells. It could be the whole plant cells. All right. So a directional movement of cells, free moving plant cells or reproductive structures toward or away from the stimulus. All right. So unlike the tropic movement that involves growth, okay, the tropic movement involves growth and then it is permanent. The movement is permanent. So this particular movement, which is tactic movement, it is not a growth movement. All right, it is not a growth movement. This is an active movement and it occurs in motile cells. For example, the euglena. For example, the euglena, the chlamydomonas, they are unicellular organisms and the movement of the whole plant cell, just like I said earlier, movement of cells. Okay, so that is tactic movement. All right, so another tactic movements that are also types. We have what we call the phototaxis. We have the phototaxis just as we have in other entropic movements. From the word lights, okay, we have phototaxis. Okay, so this is under tactic movement. And from the word photo, that is light. So this is to tell you that it involves the movement of the cells in response to light. So e.g., the chlamydomonas moving towards the light or toward the light for photosynthesis. So it could be chlamydomonas, it could be euglena. They are moving towards the light. When they move towards the light, it means that they are responding to the light stimulus. All right, they are responding to the light stimulus. So the movement of the whole body cell is what we call tactic. So I want you to be able to differentiate between the tropic movement and the tactic movement. Because if you are not careful, you may mistake one for another. So the tropic movement involves growth. It involves growth of the plant when the plant is trying to move towards a particular direction, and it involves growth, unlike the tactic movement that involve growth. So it involves the whole body cell or the plant cell moving towards a particular stimulus. All right. So I want you to be able to differentiate between tropic movement and tactic movement. So example of the phototaxis under the tactic movement is Shigellena, Chlamydomonas, when they are trying to move towards the light for photosynthesis. The whole body cell is moving towards the direction. All right, so that is for phototaxis. And the second is the chemotaxis. 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 So chemotaxis is movement in response to chemicals from the word chemo, response to chemicals from the word chemo. And the third is the thermotaxis from the word temperature, thermo from the word temperature, movement in response to temperature changes. That is thermotaxis. All right. So I hope you are getting it. Okay. So we have talked about three major movements. We have talked about the tropic movements. We have talked about the nastic movement. We have talked about the tactic movement. And the number four is sleep movements. Sleep movements. Sleep movements. To sleep. Sleep movements. Okay. So the sleep movement is also known as this nasty. The sleep movement is also known as nasty. Nasty. That is another word for the sleep movement. So just like I explained when I was talking about the nastic movement, I explained the nasty. So just like the explanation I gave then, that it is reversible movement in plants in response to changes in light or darkness. I made mention of some plants that open up during the day, and at night they close. So it's more or less like they are also sleeping at night. So that is what we call sleep movements. During the day, they are very active, they look good, they look fine, you like the way they look, but at night they also sleep, they close up. So that is what we call sleep movement, and it is also known as nasty. Nasty. All right, I hope you got that. Okay, so we want to move into, we are done with the movement in plants now. We want to move to the support tissues in plants. Support tissues in plants. All right, support tissues in plants. Don't forget the movements in plants, tropic movements. We have the nastic movements. We have the tactic movements, and we have the sleep movement. All right, we have the sleep movement, also known as nasty. Okay, nasty. So these are the four major movements we want to look into. All right, these are the four major movements we want to look into when it comes to plants. All right, so we looked into the tropic movement, we looked into the nastic movement, we looked into the tactic movement, and slip movement, also known as knitting nasty. So we want to go into support system now. So we have checked and looked into the different movements in plants. All right. So their movements are not definite, they are indefinite movement, and that is what we have just looked into now. So we are going into support. Don't forget that this topic is a combination of two different words. Okay, so it's a combination of two different processes in plants, which is the support and movement. So we just looked into movement. We want to also look into support. All right, so I'm going to wipe off the board now. I hope you have crafted what is there in, so we can have space to write other things we need to write. All right. Okay, so we want to look into the we want to look into the support system in plants. Support. Support tissues. Support tissues in plants. Support tissues in plants. So what are the support tissues in plants? Just like I explained earlier that you have different support system, even human being, there is something that is holding you, there's something in your body which is your skeleton. Without the bones in your body, without your skeleton, you cannot be able to stand uprightly, you cannot be able to move from one place to another. It is because you have something that is holding your body, something that your flesh is covering up. That is what is supporting your body. That is what is supporting your whole body system and helps you to carry out your day-to-day activities. So the same thing occurs in plants. They also have support tissues. All right, so that is what we want to look into now. So number one support tissue that we are going to be looking at is what we call the collenchyma. All right, we have the collenchyma, we have the sclerenchyma. These are support tissues in plants. We have the xylem, we have the phloem fibers. There are still other tissues we can actually regard to or refer to as support tissues, but just like I do say that we do not just bombard you with notes or a lot of words. We try to screen out what the UTME actually wants you to prepare for. All right, so we make use of UTME syllabus, and that is what we use to teach you here. So for the sake of this UTME class, we are going to focus on these four support tissues in plants, which are the collenchyma, the sclerenchyma, the xylem, and the phloem fibers. All right, so we have the for the phloem and for the xylem, I'm going to be showing you a diagram. Going to be showing you a diagram for you to see the xylem and the phloem fiber. The xylem and the phloem fiber. All right, so as you can see here, we have the xylem. We also have the phloem. So this is the structure, this is how it looks like. And the function of the xylem is that it supports the plant by forming a strong, rigid framework. And do not forget that the xylem conducts water and minerals from the roots. From the roots, as you can see, conduct water upward. This is how the fiber looks like. This is how the fiber looks like. This is the trash sheet. So this is the vessel member, this is the perforation plate. So all of this is xylem. So all of this is xylem. Okay. So the function of the xylem All of this is xylem, and the function of the xylem is, it holds, it supports the plant. All right, it supports the plant by forming a strong, rigid framework. You can see this thing is even looking hard. The structure is looking hard. So it helps in, supporting the plant. It serves as a framework, and it helps to conduct water from the roots, since the root is inside the soil, so it taps water from the root to the other part of the plant. That is for xylem. All right, and for phloem, this is the structure here. We have phloem, and as you can also see, you see that the structure is also looking hard. So it also helps to support mature plant structure, and it prevents the plant from bending or breaking. All right, that is phloem. It supports the plant. It helps the plant to, to be strong, and it prevents it from breaking anyhow or from bending anyhow. All right, so it is a very strong structure, and it also helps to conduct food, such as, glucose. So it transports or it conducts food to all the parts of the plant. All right, to all the parts of the plant. That is the function of phloem. So we have talked about the xylem, we have talked about the phloem. I'm going to show you the parenchyma and the sclerenchyma. All right. So if you are with me and you are enjoying the class, please thumbs up. Thumbs up if you can hear me. If you are with me and you are enjoying the class, thumbs up. All right. So for the parenchyma, we have the parenchyma tissue here. We are not going to talk about this for the sake of this class. We are going to focus on the parenchyma and the sclerenchyma. All right. So what is the function of the parenchyma? You can see the structure here. So for the parenchyma, it provides mechanical support to young growing part of plants. So the young growing part of plants, it is the parenchyma that helps in supporting the young growing part of the plant. In order not to break, in order not to bend, it is the parenchyma tissue that holds the young growing part of the plant. All right. So, and for the sclerenchyma tissue, it is, it provides rigidity and strength to mature plants. So this is to tell you that this is very, very essential. This is very essential in the young plants. This is essential in young parts of the plant. All right. While the sclerenchyma is very essential in mature plants. Essential in mature plants. Essential in mature plants. So it provides rigidity, strength, and support to mature plant parts. All right. This for the young parts of the plant, while the sclerenchyma tissue for the mature parts of the plant. So I hope you can differentiate between the two and the functions of the two now. Okay, so we want to look into the distribution of supporting tissues. So all these tissues, we have talked about the parenchyma, the sclerenchyma, we talked about the xylem, and we talked about the phloem fibers. Those are the four major supporting tissues that we looked into in this class. All right, so we want to look at the distribution of supporting tissues in root, stem, and leaf. What do I mean by distribution? That is, where can we find all these supporting tissues in the part of the plant? We, of course, the whole plant is divided into three major parts, which is the root, the stem, and the leaf. So we want to see the supporting structures in each of those parts. We want to see the ones that are present and where we can find them in the leaf, in the stem, and in the root. All right. So I'm going to show you a chart for us to see the different distribution in the part of the plant. Okay, so I'm going to show you a chart for you to see the different parts. Okay, so here we have the collenchyma. We have the collenchyma tissue here. So we have the collenchyma tissue here. Number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. All right. So talking about the collenchyma tissue, this is the root, this is the stem, this is the root, this is the stem, and this is the leaf. So in the collenchyma, in the root, the collenchyma is absent. Don't forget that when I was talking about the collenchyma tissue, I said it is very essential in the young growing part of the plant. That's where you can find collenchyma tissue. So this is to tell you that it can never be present in the root because root is a very strong structure. So there is nothing collenchyma tissue is doing in the root. So collenchyma is absent in the root, while in the stem, it is found beneath the epidermis. It is found in the cortex beneath the epidermis, while in the leaf, it is found in the mid, rib, and veins. For instance, you have a leaf. Let's say you have a leaf like this. This is a leaf. All right. So collenchyma is found here. Here. Let me make use of this. So you can see collenchyma is found here in these veins, the veins, the middle rib and the veins. You can see collenchyma there because the leaf is a young growing, those parts, they are young growing parts of the plant. All right, so you can see collenchyma there so that it can help the part to to stand, to it gives support, it gives strength to the particular part of the plant. All right, so we move to the sclerenchyma. So for the sclerenchyma, don't forget that I said unlike the collenchyma, the sclerenchyma is found in mature part of the plant. So it helps to give rigidity, it helps to give support, it helps to give strength to the mature part of the plant. So this is to tell you that the sclerenchyma, of course, will be present in root because root is a very mature part of the plant and it is strong. So it gives rigidity to the part, to the root. Okay, so sclerenchyma is located in the roots, also in the stem, vascular bundles caps, and also around veins. The sclerenchyma is present in all the three parts. All right, collenchyma is not present in the roots here, but present in stem and leaf. Okay, so for xylem, it is present in the roots. All right, also present in the roots. Don't forget that I said it helps to conduct water from the roots to the other parts of the plant. Okay, so the xylem is present in the root. It also forms vascular bundles. Of course, xylem and phloem are the vascular bundles in plants. So it forms vascular bundles in the stem and also the upper part of veins in the leaf. The xylem is present. So it is present in the root, stem, and the leaf. And talking about the phloem fibers, It is also present in roots near the phloem. Here it is also present, and it is also present in the leaf. All right, so this is the distribution of the supporting tissues in roots and in root stem and the leaf. So I hope you understand this topic. All right. So I hope you understand this topic. And we are going to conclude this the next class. We are going to conclude it the next class. All right. So I want to give you some questions so I can have the idea of how questions come under this topic. Okay, so I am going to be sending questions. If you have any question, please send to the chat box so that we can attempt it together. All right, so I'm going to wipe off the bird now so I can have space to paste our question. All right, so I have space to paste our questions. All right, so the first question, the first question is the 2024 question. The first question is 2024 question, and I'm going to paste it here. It's a very simple question. All right. So it's 2024 question. So permit me to wipe off this board so we can have space to paste our questions. All right. So number one question says, sorry. So number one question is 2024. 2024. And I want you to attempt the question by yourself. I want you to attempt the question by yourself. All right. I want you to attempt the question by yourself. Okay. So this is the first question. Substances manufactured by the leaves are transported to other parts of the plant through. Yes, okay, okay. Um, I'm coming back to that. All right, so substances manufactured by the leaves are transported to other parts of the plant through the dash. A. Xylem. B. Companion cells. C. Shift tubes. And D. Cambium. Substances manufactured by the leaves. This is to tell you that the food transported, the substances manufactured is the same thing as the food. They just did not call it food for you. All right? They just did not call it food for you. So the substances here means food. Okay, so substances manufactured by the leaves are transported to other parts of the plant through the dash. So this is to tell you that it cannot be xylem because xylem conducts water and minerals. Companion cells is beside the vascular bond. It helps to, from the word companion. So there are cells around the vascular bundles and other, tissues. All right. The sheath tubes is present inside the phloem. Inside the phloem, that is where you can find the sheath tubes. And of course, the cambium generates other vascular bundles. So this is no, this is no, this is no. So the sheath tube is found inside the phloem, but UTME wants to confuse the the participants. All right, so that is why they did not put phloem. They put sheath tubes instead of phloem, but sheath tubes is located inside the phloem. So, and the vascular bundle or the tissue that conduct or transport food substances to the other part of the plant is what? Is phloem. So this is to tell you that C is your answer, sheath tubes. All right. So the second question is 2023. Oh, okay, 2022. The second question is 2022. 2022. This is, I have made mention of this today. All right. 2022. So this is the question. The movement of Euglena towards the source of light is a charge. I made mention of this, that the movement of the whole body cell, all right, when I was explaining the tactic movement, and I tried to differentiate between the tropic movement and tactic movement. I said the tropic and tactic movements are both directional movements. However, the tropic movement involves growth, while the tactic movement involves the whole body cell or the plant cell or reproductive cell towards a particular stimulus. So the movement of Euglena towards the source of light, which is the stimulus, is the tactic movement, according to the explanation that we had today. All right. So one more question. I want to paste one more question for you to see the other examples or of how they say their questions. All right. So another example or another year is 2020. 2020. That is another year. So the question says the response of plants to external stimuli in a non-directional manner is known as dash. The response of plants to external stimuli in a non-directional manner is known as dash. I made mention of the tropic movement. I explained the tactic movement, and I said that both the tactic and tropic movement, they are what? They are directional movements. Now, phototropism is under tropic movement. Don't forget. So this is to confuse you. All right. So they want to confuse you, but you need to understand and stand on what you know. All right. So phototropism is under tropic movement, which is directional movement. Geotropism, from the word tropism, is also under tropic movement, which is directional movement. So tactic movement is also a directional movement. So they want you to pick the one that is a non-directional movement, which is what? Nastic movement. So you can even make a tabular form to, you can do that yourself. Make a tabular form, try to differentiate between those type of movements, understand them. It's not everything you cram. You can simplify it in a tabular form for you to really understand the differences between this type of movement. So thank you for joining today's class. And for blessing, yes, you can go to our YouTube page to watch this lesson from the beginning to the end. So by tomorrow morning, the lesson will be on our YouTube page, A1 Tutor. This is the page on YouTube. All right, okay. So this is the A1. All right, just go on YouTube page. You see A1 Tutor. All right, so you see all our lessons are there. The ones we have done previously, you can check them, rewatch them to understand better. All right, you are welcome, blessing. So this comes to the end of today's class. Thank you for joining today's class, and I would like you to also, you can explore different past questions on our app, A1 Tutor app. You can download A1 Tutor app on Play Store There are numerous past questions for you to check, for you to see different questions on the topic that we have treated. Go and treat more past questions on them for you to understand better how UTME sets their questions and for you to be familiar with how their questions come. So thank you for joining today's class. Success is yours. All right. Have a wonderful night rest. See you in the next class. Bye.